Extinction Protocol. Meridian 7 was humanity's pride, not its largest colony, not its most technologically advanced, but perhaps its most beautiful. 30 million souls called it home, their cities gracefully integrated with the planet's lush forests and crystal lakes. Colonists often said that Meridian 7 was what Earth could have been, had humanity learned environmental respect earlier. The colony boasted self-sustaining agriculture, clean energy, and a thriving culture that blended Earth traditions with new customs born from life on this verdant world. Commander Elena Reyes stood on the observation deck of Meridian's orbital command station, watching sunrise creep across the planet's curve. The atmospheric shimmer turned the clouds pink and gold, a daily spectacle that never grew old. "Beautiful as always," said Lieutenant Marcus Chen, sliding a coffee across the console toward her. Elena smiled. "Worth waking up early for." The command station maintained a skeleton crew during night shifts. Meridian 7 was in the most stable region of human-controlled space, far from any borders with the handful of alien civilizations humanity had encountered. The colony had minimal defenses, a small fleet of patrol ships, and a basic planetary shield that was rarely activated outside of routine tests. Their shift had just begun when the proximity alarms blared. "Multiple hyperspace signatures detected," called out the sensor officer. Voice rise. "Send the emergency beacon," Elena ordered, her voice steady despite everything. "Full data package. Everything we've recorded about the attackers, their ships, their weapons." "The long-range communication array was hit," reported the communications officer. "We can't reach Earth directly." "The automated courier drone," Elena said. "Launch it now." The command station shook as one of the alien vessels targeted it directly. Systems failed across the board as structural integrity warnings flashed. "Drone away," shouted Marcus moments before his console exploded in a shower of sparks. Elena helped him away from the flames, seeing the burn across his face. Around them, the station was coming apart. "Everyone to escape pods," she ordered. Now. They wouldn't make it far. The alien ships were destroying everything that left the planet's orbit, but protocol demanded they try. As her crew rushed for the escape pods, Elena recorded one final message on her personal device, uploading it to the station's backup transmitter with the hope that somehow, someday, someone would find it. "This is Commander Elena Reyes of Meridian 7. We are under attack by unknown forces. Their technology surpasses our defenses. They are not just attacking our cities, they are making the planet uninhabitable. This appears to be systematic extinction. If anyone receives this message," she paused, swallowing hard, "tell Earth what happened here. Tell them Meridian died standing." She ended the recording as the station's hull breached. The last thing Elena saw was the beautiful planet below, now scarred with fire and death, as the vacuum claimed her. The automated courier drone traveled for 16 days through hyperspace, its single-minded programming focused on delivering its message to the nearest major human military installation. When it arrived at Jupiter Command, its appearance triggered immediate alert protocols. Within hours, the data had been transmitted to Earth. In the heart of the Terran Defense Force headquarters beneath the Rocky Mountains, Fleet Admiral Marcus Decker watched the footage from Meridian 7 for the fourth time. Each viewing felt like a fresh wound. 30 million civilians. An entire colony. Gone. "Play it again," he said, his voice barely audible. His aide hesitated. "Sir, we've analyzed every frame. There's nothing new to." "Play it again." The footage resumed, the alien ships emerging from hyperspace, ignoring all communication attempts, the systematic destruction of not just the colony but the planet's habitability itself. The final message from Commander Reyes, recorded moments before her death. Decker had known Elena. She'd served under him during the Proxima incident, a decade earlier. Brave, brilliant, compassionate. And now she was gone, along with millions of others. The room was silent when the footage ended. Around the circular table sat the Joint Chiefs, the Secretary of Defense, and the President herself. No one spoke for several long moments. "Could this be a misunderstanding?" asked the president finally. "Some kind of first contact gone catastrophically wrong?" Admiral Decker shook his head. "Madam President, with respect, you saw the footage. They targeted population centers first, then methodically destroyed the atmosphere. They didn't attempt communication. They didn't take prisoners. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was deliberate extinction." "Do we have any idea who they are?" asked the Secretary of Defense. "Any record of these ships in our database?" "None," confirmed General Lin of Military Intelligence. "We've shared the data with our alien allies. The Arcturians and the Rigelian Compact both confirm they've never encountered this species before." "What about their technology?" asked the president. "How do their capabilities compare to ours?" Admiral Decker gestured, and a holographic display appeared above the table showing comparative analyses. "Their weapons are unlike anything we've encountered, some form of phased plasma that ignores conventional shields. Their hyperspace signatures suggest FTL capability approximately equal to our newest ships." He paused. "We believe we can match them in speed and potentially in firepower with our latest destroyers, but we've never faced these weapons directly." "What do we know about their numbers?" asked the secretary. "The attack on Meridian 7 involved 23 ships. We don't know if that represents their full force or just an expeditionary fleet." The president stood, walking to the window that looked out onto the underground hydroponics garden that supplied the facility with fresh air and food. "What are your recommendations, Admiral?" Decker had been waiting for this question. "Madam President, this was an unprovoked attack on a peaceful human colony. They made no demands, sought no territory, attempted no communication. They simply exterminated 30 million people and rendered a habitable planet useless." He stood, placing both hands on the table. "If we don't respond with overwhelming force, we invite further attacks. They need to understand that attacking humanity carries consequences." "You're suggesting a military response," the president said, "not a question." "I'm suggesting the most massive military response in human history," Decker said firmly. "I propose we activate the Extinction Protocol." The room went silent. The Extinction Protocol had been established after the First Contact War with the Proxima Centauri species, a contingency plan for existential threats to humanity. It had never been implemented. "That would require mobilizing almost every warship in the fleet," said General Lin, "leaving our other borders and colonies vulnerable. If we don't stop this enemy now, there won't be colonies to protect," Decker countered. "The Arcturians have agreed to temporarily expand their patrol zones to cover our borders with the Rigelian Compact. The Compact itself has offered technological assistance. They're as disturbed by this attack as we are." The president returned to the table, her expression grave. "How many ships?" 800,000, Decker said without hesitation. "Every destroyer, cruiser, dreadnought, and carrier we can muster. We'll leave minimal defensive forces at our core worlds and strip the frontier entirely." 800,000 ships. The Secretary of Defense whispered. "The logistics alone." "We've run the simulations," Decker said. "We can assemble the fleet at Jupiter Command within 2 weeks. The courier drone recorded the attacker's hyperspace vector. We know which direction they came from. We find them. We engage them. And we make absolutely clear that attacking humanity was their last mistake." The president closed her eyes for a long moment. When she opened them, her decision was made. "Activate the Extinction Protocol. Admiral, find these creatures and show them exactly what humanity is capable of when provoked." Admiral Helena Voss stood on the bridge of the TDF Retribution, the largest dreadnought ever constructed by human hands. Through the viewport stretched a sight no human had ever witnessed before. A fleet so vast it defied comprehension. 800,000 warships arranged in attack formation, stretching across the void in every direction. Engines glowing like artificial stars. Final ships reporting in. "Admiral," said her executive officer, Commander James Chen. The fleet is assembled and ready. Helena nodded, her face impassive despite the weight of the moment. She had been chosen to lead this armada not just for her tactical brilliance, but for her connection to Meridian 7. She had been born there, had family there. The brass thought it appropriate that the Vengeance fleet be led by someone with personal stake in the mission. They weren't wrong. Open fleet-wide communication, she ordered. When the channel opened, Helena straightened her uniform and faced the camera. Her message would reach every ship, every officer, every soldier and pilot in this unprecedented gathering of human military might. Men and women of the Terran Defense Force, this is Admiral Voss. 2 weeks ago, an unknown alien force attacked the colony of Meridian 7 without provocation or warning. They murdered 30 million civilians and rendered the planet uninhabitable. They made no demands. They sought no conquest. Their goal was extinction. She paused, letting the gravity of those words sink in. Today, we answer that attack. Today, we show these aggressors, and any who might consider following their example, what it means to provoke humanity. We are not just fighting for vengeance. We are fighting for our very existence. Helena looked out at the vast fleet, feeling the weight of history upon her shoulders. The enemy believes they can exterminate us without consequence. Today, they learn otherwise. For Meridian, for humanity, for Earth. She nodded to her communications officer to end the transmission. The bridge was silent as she turned to Commander Chen. Signal the fleet to enter hyperspace on my mark. Chen nodded, relaying the order. Across the vast armada, 800,000 hyperspace engines began to power up, their energy signatures merging into a light that rivaled the sun of the system they were leaving. Coordinates locked on the enemy's vector trail, reported the navigation officer, ready to pursue at maximum speed. Helena Voss took one final look at the assembled might of humanity. Whatever waited for them at the end of this journey, she would ensure that the aliens who had so casually destroyed Meridian 7 would understand one fundamental truth. Humanity would not go quietly into extinction. Mark, she said, and 800,000 ships thundered into hyperspace as one, leaving only emptiness where moments before had been the greatest military force ever assembled in the galaxy. The hunt had begun. Reckoning. The vast human fleet traveled through hyperspace for 11 days, following the trail left by the aliens who had destroyed Meridian 7. 800,000 ships moving as one created a hyperspace wake never before recorded in human history. A tsunami in the fabric of reality itself. On the bridge of the TDF Retribution, Admiral Helena Voss studied the latest intelligence reports. Her eyes were rimmed with red from lack of sleep, but her focus remained razor-sharp. Behind her, the bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency, the atmosphere tense with anticipation. Long-range scouts are reporting back, Admiral, announced Commander Chen, approaching with a data tablet. They found something. Helena took the tablet, scanning the report quickly. They'd located a star system with significant artificial structures. Yes, Admiral, approximately 6 light-years ahead of our current position. Heavy industrialization across multiple planets and moons. The architecture matches what we saw at Meridian 7. Helena's jaw tightened. Any sign they've detected our scouts? None so far. The scouts maintained full stealth protocols and withdrew to a safe distance after initial observations. Helena nodded, turning to her strategic display. Show me. The holographic projection shifted to display the alien star system, a yellow star with 11 orbiting planets. 3 showed signs of habitation, with space stations and orbital facilities surrounding them. The 4th planet was different, almost entirely encased in artificial structures, reminiscent of a Dyson sphere in progress. Their homeworld? Helena asked. Possibly, Chen replied, or at least a major hub. Energy readings are off the charts. Whatever they're doing there requires enormous power. Helena studied the display, her tactical mind already formulating approaches. The aliens had killed 30 million humans without hesitation. If this was indeed their homeworld, billions of their kind might live there. The weight of what she was considering settled over her like a physical burden. "Prepare a detailed strategic assessment," she ordered. "I want multiple attack vectors plotted, and alert High Command that we've located a potential target." As Chen moved to comply, Helena continued to stare at the alien system. The enemy had struck without warning, without mercy. Humanity would respond in kind. 3 days later, the human fleet prepared to exit hyperspace just outside the alien system. The 800,000 ships had spread into an enormous three-dimensional formation, designed to surround the system from all angles upon arrival. Helena stood on her bridge, hands clasped behind her back, watching the countdown to reversion. "All ships reporting ready, Admiral," said Chen. "Final confirmation from all fleet commanders received." Helena nodded. "Begin emergence sequence." Combat stations. Throughout the vast armada, klaxons sounded as crews rushed to battle stations. Weapon systems powered up. Shields strengthened. Fighter squadrons prepared for launch. This would be the largest military engagement in human history. Emerging from hyperspace in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Reality twisted as 800,000 ships simultaneously tore back into normal space. The sensation was momentarily disorienting, even for veteran crews. So many large objects displacing space-time at once created a ripple effect that sensors struggled to compensate for. When the distortion cleared, Helena found herself staring at the alien system. It was even more impressive in person than the scout reports had indicated. A civilization clearly at the height of technological development. The 3 inhabited planets glittered with lights, while the 4th, heavily industrialized world pulsed with energy. "Any reaction to our arrival?" Helena asked. "They've detected us," reported the sensor officer. "Energy spikes across their orbital facilities. They're powering up defense systems." "Open communication channels," Helena ordered. "All frequencies, all languages in our database." The communications officer worked his console. "Channel open, Admiral." Helena stood straight, her voice clear and cold. "This is Admiral Helena Voss of the Terran Defense Force. 2 weeks ago, your forces attacked our colony at Meridian 7, killing 30 million civilians without provocation. We have come for answers and for justice." The bridge fell silent as they waited for a response. Minutes stretched with no reply. "Their orbital platforms are shifting position," reported the tactical officer. "Defense stations activating weapons." Helena's expression hardened. They had their chance. Target their outer defense platforms. Squadrons Alpha through Delta. Commence attack. The first wave of the human fleet surged forward. 200,000 ships moving in perfect coordination. Missiles streaked across space. Energy weapons flashed, and the battle for the alien system began. The alien defenses responded with surprising speed. From the planet's surfaces and orbital stations, thousands of ships launched to meet the human attackers. Their design matched those that had destroyed Meridian 7, angular, with strange organic-looking protrusions. "Enemy fleet size approximately 50,000 vessels," reported the tactical officer. "Largest concentration around the 4th planet." Helena nodded. 50,000 against 800,000. The numbers favored humanity, but numbers alone didn't win battles. The first exchanges of fire illuminated space like artificial lightning. Human destroyers clashed with alien cruisers. Fighters darted between capital ships, and massive dreadnoughts exchanged devastating energy barrages. Helena watched the tactical display with practiced calm, issuing orders as the situation evolved. The human fleet was pressing forward, but the alien defenses were proving formidable. Their weapons, the same phased plasma that had ignored Meridian 7's shields, was taking a heavy toll on the first wave. "They're using the same weapons technology," Chen observed grimly. "But our ships are equipped with the modified shield harmonics," Helena replied. The Terran Defense Force had worked frantically to develop countermeasures based on the Meridian 7 data. The shields weren't perfect, but they reduced the effectiveness of the alien weapons significantly. A sudden alarm caught Helena's attention. "New contact," Called the sensor officer. Massive energy signature detected near the fourth planet. Something's coming through. It's a ship. Admiral, it's enormous. The tactical display shifted to show something emerging from the heavily industrialized planet. A vessel that dwarfed anything in either fleet. It was shaped like a massive blade, its surface ridged with what appeared to be weapon emplacements. Preliminary scans put its length at over 20 kilometers. Energy readings are off the chart, reported the tactical officer, voice tight with tension. Whatever that thing is, it's more powerful than anything we've ever encountered. As if to demonstrate this assessment, the massive ship fired a single beam toward the human fleet. The energy blast cut through space and struck a human cruiser formation. 20 ships simply ceased to exist, vaporized instantly. Helena's blood ran cold. Target that vessel. All available dreadnoughts. Focus fire. Across the human fleet, hundreds of capital ships turned their main guns toward the alien superweapon. Energy beams and kinetic projectiles converged on the massive target, only to be absorbed by its shields with minimal effect. The communications officer suddenly straightened. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission. It's from the alien vessel. Helena nodded. On screen. The main view screen flickered, then resolved to show an alien figure. It was tall and spindly, with gray-green skin stretched tight over an elongated skull. Multiple sets of eyes blinked independently of each other, and when it spoke, its mouth moved in unnatural patterns. Humans, the alien said, its voice translated by the ship's computers into a flat, synthetic tone. Your presence here is unexpected. Your numbers are impressive, but ultimately meaningless. Helena stepped forward. I am Admiral Voss of Earth. You attacked our colony without provocation. 30 million dead. Why? The alien's head tilted at an uncomfortable angle. Provocation. We require none. Your species exists in space we will eventually need. Your resources are useful. Your continued existence is not. The cold, casual disregard sent a wave of anger through Helena. You murdered millions for real estate. We are the Krezet, the alien continued, ignoring her question. We have consumed 17 species before you. Some fought. Some begged. All died. Your numbers are greater than we anticipated, but the outcome will be the same. Around Helena, the bridge crew stared at the screen in horror and rage. The alien, the Krezet, spoke of genocide as if discussing the weather. You've made a mistake, Helena said, her voice deadly calm. Humanity isn't like the others you've encountered. The Krezet made a sound that might have been laughter. Your confidence is misplaced. Observe. The massive ship fired again. This time, the beam split into multiple streams, each targeting a different section of the human fleet. Dozens of ships disappeared in flashes of light. The demonstration was clear. The Krezet believed their technological superiority would overcome humanity's numerical advantage. We will grant you the opportunity to retreat, the Krezet said. Return to your worlds. Prepare them for our arrival. It will change nothing, but you may find comfort in your final days. Helena's hands gripped the edge of the tactical display until her knuckles turned white. Around her, she could feel the rage and determination of her crew, of the entire human fleet. You should have studied us more carefully before you attacked, she said quietly. Signal the Terminus Protocol. Commander Chen looked at her sharply. Admiral, are you certain? Once initiated. I'm certain, Helena cut him off. Do it now. Chen nodded grimly, inputting the command codes. Throughout the fleet, special communications protocols activated, sending encrypted signals to packages that had been distributed among key vessels before departure from Earth. The Krezet seemed unimpressed. Your defiance is noted, but futile. We will. The alien stopped mid-sentence, its multiple eyes widening as alarms visibly flashed in its command center. On the tactical display, Helena watched as 300 special operations vessels, distributed throughout the human fleet, activated their payloads. These weren't conventional weapons. They were something humanity had developed but never used, a technology deemed too dangerous, except in the most extreme circumstances. Space itself seemed to warp around these ships as they initiated what Earth scientists called localized relativity bombs. The weapons didn't destroy matter. They altered the very flow of time and space in a targeted area. Around the Krezat defense fleet, bubbles of distorted space-time appeared. Inside these bubbles, time slowed to a crawl. For the aliens caught within, seconds would stretch into years, effectively removing them from the battle without killing them. The massive Krezat ship fired its main weapon again, but this time, the beam moved at a fraction of its normal speed, caught in one of the distortion fields. "What have you done?" demanded the Krezat, genuine alarm in its translated voice for the first time. "Something you didn't expect," Helena replied coldly. "Target their command ship. All remaining dreadnoughts, focus fire on the coordinates I'm sending now." The human fleet reorganized with remarkable speed, hundreds of capital ships concentrating their firepower on a specific point of the Krezat superweapon, a structural weakness identified by advanced analysis of the vessel's design. The combined firepower of over 1,000 human dreadnoughts struck simultaneously. No shield, no matter how advanced, could withstand such concentrated force. The Krezat vessel shuddered, then began to break apart, massive sections tearing away as chain reactions of explosions rippled through its structure. On the view screen, the Krezat commander stumbled as its ship began to disintegrate around it. "Impossible," it hissed. "You are prey. You cannot." "We are not prey," Helena interrupted. "We are humanity. And you have made the last mistake your species will ever make." She cut the transmission as the Krezat superweapon exploded in a blinding flash. With their main advantage neutralized and much of their fleet trapped in temporal distortion fields, the remaining Krezat defenses began to falter. Helena turned to her tactical display. "All ships, advance on the inhabited planets. Standard containment procedures." The human fleet surged forward, no longer facing significant resistance. The battle had turned decisively. Commander Chen approached Helena, speaking quietly. "What are your orders regarding the Krezat civilian populations, Admiral?" It was the question Helena had dreaded since they'd discovered this system. The Krezat had shown no mercy to Meridian 7. Many in the fleet, many in Earth's government, expected the same in return. An eye for an eye. Extinction for extinction. Helena stared at the tactical display, watching as human ships surrounded the Krezat worlds. "We secure their military installations. We disable their fleet capacity. We establish orbital control points to prevent any vessels from escaping." She paused, then continued firmly. "But we do not target civilian population centers. We are not them." Chen nodded, visible relief on his face. "Yes, Admiral. Have Science Division prepare contact teams. I want to know everything about the Krezat, their history, their society, why they believe they could exterminate other species without consequence." "And after that?" Chen asked. Helena's expression was resolute. "After that, we make sure the galaxy understands what happens when you attack humanity. The Krezat will face justice for Meridian 7, but we will administer that justice as the civilization we are, not the predators they believed us to be." She looked back at the view screen, now showing the human fleet assuming control of the Krezat system. 800,000 ships, sent to avenge 30 million innocent lives, not through blind destruction, but through decisive force and the moral strength to use power wisely. "Send word to Earth," Helena ordered. "The Krezat threat has been neutralized. Meridian 7 is avenged." 1 month later, Helena stood before the United Earth Council in Geneva. The chamber was packed with government officials, military officers, and media representatives. On screens throughout the room, citizens from Earth and its colonies watched the proceedings. Helena had spent the last month overseeing the containment of the Krezat civilization. What they had learned was disturbing. A species that had evolved as apex predators, viewing all other sentient life as simply resources to be harvested. The attack on Meridian 7 had been just the beginning of what would have been a systematic campaign to eliminate humanity. Admiral Voss, began the Council President, your after-action report has been reviewed by this body. The decision to spare the Krezet civilian population has generated considerable debate. Helena stood straight, her uniform crisp, medals glinting under the chamber lights. I stand by that decision, Madam President. We went to war to protect humanity, not to become what we were fighting against. The Krezet showed no such restraint at Meridian 7, noted one of the counselors. No, they didn't, Helena agreed. And that is precisely why we had to be better. The Krezet believed we were just another prey species to be consumed. By demonstrating both our power and our restraint, we showed them, and the galaxy, that humanity is something altogether different. The room was quiet as her words sank in. The containment protocols are holding, Helena continued. The Krezet military capability has been dismantled. Their leadership will face trial for crimes against sentient life. And most importantly, we've established contact with 3 other species who were targeted by the Krezet before us, survivors who went into hiding, believing resistance was futile. The Council President leaned forward. You believe rehabilitation of the Krezet is possible. Helena considered her answer carefully. It will take generations. Their entire cultural identity is built around predation. But we've already identified factions within their society that question the ethics of their expansion. With time and guidance, yes, I believe change is possible. And in the meantime, asked another counselor. In the meantime, humanity has demonstrated that we can field a fleet of 800,000 warships if threatened. We've proven our technological ingenuity with the relativity bombs, and we've shown that we have the wisdom to use that power judiciously. Helena's eyes swept the chamber. The galaxy is now on notice. Humanity will defend itself with overwhelming force when provoked, but we do not seek conquest or extinction. The Council President nodded slowly. A powerful message indeed, Admiral. As the session continued, Helena thought about Meridian 7, about the lives lost and the colony that would need to be rebuilt. The victory over the Krezet couldn't bring back the dead, but it had ensured their sacrifice wasn't in vain. Humanity had faced its first true existential threat from the stars and had not only survived but prevailed. They had done so not just with superior numbers or clever technology, but with the moral strength that the Krezet could never understand. That night, standing on the balcony of her Geneva apartment, Helena looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the fleet she had led still guarded the Krezet homeworld. Somewhere else, teams of scientists and diplomats were making contact with the species who had hidden from the Krezet for generations. The galaxy was larger and more dangerous than humanity had realized, but they had proven equal to the challenge. Whatever came next, whatever new threats emerged from the darkness between stars, humanity would face it together, 800,000 ships strong if necessary. For Meridian 7, for Earth, for the future of all sentient life.